the Jeazy joint.
For the culture, by the culture, to the culture, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, party people in the place to be, MCs, welcome to the 6th episode of School Snowdown. Yeah, buddy, and I'm your principal host, Jeazy, and I make this podcasting thing, man, look so easy. Damn, what's going on? What's happening? Alright, man, I'm coming to you straight out of Sata, so you know what time it is, man. Finally, J. Cole dropped his much anticipated album, The Fall Off. So the real question is, did he fall off or is he still a top MC? Let's find out. Yo, 25K went on the Tswayza show, and I think what he did there, he showed us why he put Pitori on the map with his Pitori raps. Come on now. And also, man, leading up to the Oscars this year, I'm just gonna be peeping into the Best Actor category. So if you want to find out why, I think you better stick around. One of the things that I'm most interested to talk about, the biggest misconception that hip-hop has. Like, what is that big misconception that people have about hip-hop? Man, it's gonna be a jam-packed show. Jamming with the jammers, rocking with the rockers. It's Jesus. Okay, I cannot say Jesus because I know y'all. Reason once did a song on an album called it Jesus Christ, and he was cancelled and he had to go and do piano. So imagine Jeazy doing piano. That would be like Dave Chappelle on Dance with the Stars. Alright, man, I'm cool. Okay, cool. Let's get this show on the road. Fuck a gear one, no clutch, call gear box. Yeah. Okay, I hear you like. J. Cole dropped his much anticipated album, The Fall Off. Honestly, right now, I cannot really speak on the album, The Fall Off. I think it just dropped. It will be unfair of me. Because I think the biggest thing that I realized, like, people spend so much time crafting this music. They spend like time, they listening to beats, they are with session musicians, they're producing, they're doing all of this work, they're experiencing. And it takes them time to craft this thing, and with just one listen, you're like, garbage, you know what I mean? So I'm still listening to the project, still going through the project. I'll do my review later on. I'm still bumping it. It's a double disc album, you know what I mean? It's double disc album, long tracks, tracks averaging like 4 or 5 minutes. People have been saying it might be Cole's last album. The biggest thing that caught my attention when I knew that Cole was dropping was like, okay, cool, Cole is dropping, but am I really excited about it? Like, am I excited about it like as much as when he was dropping, 2014 For a Still Drive, when he was dropping For Your Eyes Only, even when he was dropping, what's that album, when he was going head to head with Kanye, I'ma drop the same day as Kanye. Bone Cena, even when he dropped Bone Cena, I was like, super excited for that, and the numbers that he pulled on the week, and leading up to, like, his catalog has been amazing. I've been bumping Cole since the mixtape era, the Come Up, Blow Up, Friday Night Lights. Cole has been my dude, man. Like, Cole has been my guy through and through, So obviously we know what happened,
Take your best shot, I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, and I pray that, y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep.
Who's in the top 3? Is it Kenny, is it Aubrey, or is it me? This question was posed by J. Cole on a Drake song, first person shooter, like who's in the big 3. If you're gonna ask such a question on a global stage to say like who's the best, because Kendrick did say it before, Kendrick is not afraid of heat, If there's something that Kung Fu Kenny has, is that he's not afraid of getting into the ring and fighting, I remember who's the best MC, is it Kendrick, Giga, and Nas, Eminem, Andre 3000, the rest of y'all, new niggas, just new niggas, don't get involved. Cole went on and then he asked, like, yo, who's the best MC? Kendrick didn't waste any time and then responded, it's like, yo, niggas, there ain't no big 3, just the big me. And, all hell broke loose from there. Obviously, we know Cole dropped 7-minute drill. Yeah, like it felt forced, you know what I mean? It felt like very, very forced. Like, Cole, what are we doing? And obviously, after he did that, then the biggest thing happened. You know, Cole first apologizing. The whole game like has something to say. It's like, yo, you know what? In the soft era of hip hop are we listening to?
This is the new sophisticated version of hip hop culture we're talking about, right?
You know, the biggest thing was like, man, the whole thing didn't sit well with my feelings.
One, I know my heart, you know what I mean? And like, so I felt conflicted because I'm like, bro, I know I don't really feel no way. That I feel spiritually feel bad on me. Like,
the biggest question, if it didn't sit well with your feelings, then why did you record the song in the first place? Why did you record the song in the first place? You shouldn't have recorded the song if you feel like it wouldn't sit well with your soul. You know what I mean? So obviously apologized, and then the beef was on. Then, you know, of everyone, like Fat Joe has like the most to say.
J. Cole, I don't look at him the same. He ain't come outside. I don't care what he spit.
I agree with Fat Joe.
I always said he's one of the greatest, and all that is irrelevant to me when you talking all that gangster shit and they call you to the yard and you don't step outside.
Knowing Joe cracking with 100 Taliban's behind him, coming up and saying like, yo, I don't look at this nigga the same. And there's no way you can look at him the same. Like, what I wanted to say actually earlier was that like two biggest flops from two of my favorite MCs was J. Cole apology.
it's one part of that shit that make me feel like, man, that's the lamest shit I ever did in my fucking life.
And the Kenny Bus taking out the script in a battle, yeah.
All right, let me spit my shit. Nah, fuck that. The boy can spit, all right? I prepared for 3 weeks, every day, to come here. You understand me? I wrote so many fucking rhymes, you can't memorize all that shit.
That mad at me. That killed me. Like, yo, why are we still doing this rap thing? Like, why are we still here? You know, if my favorite MC is gonna do that, why? You know what I mean? Why MC is scared to battle? Like,
do you look at J. Cole differently for backing out of this three-way beef?
When you called out in hip hop, you gotta respond.
J. Cole was the one talking crazy. You're gonna handle the craziness. It just is what it is, bro. And
Facts.
if you don't step up to
Gotta do it.
we gotta look at you different.
I'm just saying to you, the culture, the competitive nature of it.
He said, I would have won the battle, but I would have lost the brother. And we was like,
Yeah,
bro,
we didn't agree with that. That wasn't a great move.
I was looking for J. Cole. Like, I'm like, ooh, let me see what he's gonna do. And that
J. Cole's nice.
Yes.
Dead nice.
Yes. And then when
I can hear my niggas up there right now like, nah, don't do that.
I go, oh no.
Wow, Cole, you did that?
Why did you do that? I wanted to call him and tell him, don't do that. No. No.
Do you think it hurts him?
Yes. Even now.
He definitely got a stripe off for that because in hip hop, they call you out, you come out.
J. Cole now's got this project out, right? But then now, if he's gonna say he's the best on the project, like, nigga, you had a chance to get tested if you are an impeccable MC, as you claim. You were on the world stage and they say like, yo, nigga, let's battle, and you didn't come out. It's like, Papa, how about Papa go next door? That's no way you're gonna do it with your just thing. Like, when he tells you, like, yo, nigga, go do the dishes. Like, yeah, you still got jumped. You still got beaten by that other nigga. You know what I mean? Like, even if you cannot, you know, overpower the nigga, like, at least did you shop a shot on yana, but that's how it's ahead. I guess I will listen to the project. I think it happens to the best of the MCs, you know, like when you reach your peak, you are in your peak, and then once that ship sails, then that ship has sailed, you know what I mean? To stay consistent, to be on top of your game, like Jeazy is somebody who's like who's been able to like rap on the top of his game throughout his career, you know what I mean? Even on the 444, he's still rapping his ass off. He's still real as fuck. He's still telling the real stories. You know, still got the most charisma, and you know his interviews are harder. You know, so I don't know, man, because of MCs when they start releasing. At some point, they become stale, you know. J. Cole would have sounded so much better. Swear to God, J. Cole would have sounded so much better if you went on with the beef. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to address the beef, 10 years later, it does not matter because we have moved on. We have moved on, and we know we are the type of nigga that blows their tea. So there's no way that we can, like say, yo, we got cool and we're going to war with this nigga. This is our nigga. You didn't show up, when it was time for you to show up. You basically, like Joe Craig said it like, yo, that nigga had a stage fright. He had a stage fright. So he knew, like, things are not going to be the same after that. So Drake knew actually that nothing was the same, you know what I mean? So I'm feeling some type of way, man. I'm not getting excited about the same people that I used to get excited about, like I'm asking myself, am I outgrowing these niggas? What's going on? It feels like, if Jackie Chan had to drop like a movie right now, I wanna be like, oh, I wanna see that new Jackie, bro. So I don't know, man. I think it happens to the best of us, but I hate it, if things don't age well, it's like, because of this, like, people who are aging well, like, who are still doing, like, things at the top of their game, you know what I mean? I don't know, I have to pull up LeBron's stats. I don't know how, I think he's averaging 9 points this season. I don't know what's happening with the coach, you know what I mean? But, last season he was still on the top of his game. That's like the Jeazy level that I'm talking about, like just being impeccable, just sustain this thing, just being on top of your game through and through, It's one of those things, like you live long enough to become a villain. Die a hero, live long enough to see yourself become a villain. All right? The best of the best said it. They knew what they were talking about.
What's done more harm to the black community, crack cocaine or processed sugar?
Hip hop and R&B.
Really? As a rapper, you say that?
I know what my job is, but know you're selling the poison.
It's not anything new. What Vince Stable is saying here, it's not anything new. If you know your history, then you know what's going on here, right? But since you're in the scholarship, I looked at this video and something clicked, and I remember, like, oh, cool, man, this is why we're doing podcasts like this, This is why we're doing Schools Not Out, to educate MCs, to educate leaders of the intellectual movement so that they can be able to lead better. What Vince Stable is saying is not anything new. And I like the fact that he just went extreme and said, like, yo, what's killing the black community? And he said hip-hop and R&B. Because if you look at hip-hop and R&B and what it represents right now, it's not what it was intended to represent. And let's take a trip down memory lane.
You said they messed up hip-hop. They destroyed it.
Yeah, we need to throw the whole culture away at this point, brother.
Hip-hop has been around for 50 years. How can we call hip-hop a blessing to the black community when that type of money being made off of our culture and the community doesn't benefit from it at all? You push death and destruction on our children for a living, and we're supposed to be okay with that.
Yeah. Hip-hop is like, oh, bet, you young, you black, and you poor, we finna give you the soundtrack to how to change your circumstances. And that soundtrack involve a bunch of murder, you heard me? A bunch of sliding on your ops, a bunch of go rob him, a bunch of scamming, glorified, a bunch of stripping on the pole, you heard me? Prostitute your body, you know what I'm saying? You see the lottos, the sexy reds. A young girl who's watching them is like 4 or 5 years old, reciting the lyrics to these songs that is just, it's prostitute rap. It's kill your own people music.
Until hip-hop begins to be a blessing for the black community, hip-hop is an agent of white supremacy.
Why was hip-hop created? Hip-hop was created as a resistance, as a form of resistance. Who are we resisting? Oppression. And the best way to express ourselves, it was through hip-hop. Hip-hop goes hand in hand with the black consciousness movement. Hip-hop goes hand in hand with black power. If you look at when hip-hop started and what movements were there at the time, then you will be able to make the correlations and realize that hip-hop was actually a movement that was formed by reformed people, your Africa Bambara. They went back to Africa and had epiphany, you know what I mean? And then they came back and they said, yo, if we keep on killing each other like this, we're not going to have a black future. And we need to find an alternative, bro. We need to find an intervention, and that's what hip-hop was. And like the black consciousness movement, hip-hop was like, yo, I'm just going to embrace myself. This is not about the next man. This is not about the next clan. This is not about who thinks what. This is about what I think about myself. My parents gave me this name. This name belongs to the slave master, so I'm gonna rename myself KRS-One. What does KRS-One mean? Knowledge reigning supreme on nearly everyone. The minute you say that, the whole reality changes. You know what I mean? If you've never peeped KRS-One, I advise you as a scholar to go and peep it. Lupe Fiasco has such a beautiful song called Unpack. You know, go listen to that joint as well, you know. On the first verse, he says, the rappers die too much. And I say, that's it. That's the verse. You know, after that, he does not say anything. He just says that, and the beat plays. And the next verse is like, yo, rappers getting shot, and you know what I mean, Black Lives Matter. It's like, nah, you cannot say that because you're a hypocrite. You cannot complain that black people get killed. While you have this thing called rap, where people are glorifying killing each other. Like, you know, I just dropped a nigga last week, and I'm going to drop more next week, just to show them niggas that I'm not weak. And everybody go, ooh, but yo, in actuality, that's not what hip-hop was all about. You know what I mean? It was like self-pride, embracing yourself, who you are, your culture, your lineage, where you come from, who you're representing, you know, whose blood runs in your veins, you know, who's in your bloodline, you know, who you're representing, because that was all hip-hop for me. That's praise poetry. You know, I'm the lyrical messiah, coming higher, God-given gift, Richard Pryor, Lil MC Fryer, spit fire, drop down knowledge I inspire, real African high time, I never expire, classical thoughts like the Bible handwritten by God, we never, even if I even settled the score, that's the role of a boss, like Biggie, I'm not ready to die, but also die for the cause I cause, half with my metaphors, you know what I mean? So like, I was literally saying, yo, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, this is what I'm doing, whatever, you know what I mean? And that was the whole point to hip-hop, you know what I mean? It's like, yo, I'm just going to embrace myself. I don't like the name that they gave me. I'm going to give myself a name that best represents me. I'm going to call myself Jeazy. And I'm going to make this podcasting thing look so easy. I'm going to run circles around you and leave you dizzy. Like, whatever the case may be, you know? It was like a creative outlet. And it was gaining traction when it was gaining movement. It's just like, okay, these people are doing their own thing, you know, they don't depend on the government, they don't need anything. Like, you know, this guy from the Poor Righteousness Teachers, like, he says it and he says it so well.
You know, hip-hop changing from positive to negative was not a consequence of history. It was not a circumstance of history. It was nothing that just happened on its own. It had nothing to do with the changing of the times. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the fact that there are people in this particular society who wants to see us exactly where we are.
CIA's involvement in the creation of gangster rap, that they helped promote and push gangster rap. They have some sort of involvement in promoting gangster rap in the 80s, and they do it to try to make sure that society is always in a state of unrest. And that they wanted to keep they wanted to keep people in a state of unrest and promote criminal behavior and criminal activity and gang activity, and to do it in popular music, and that would make more crime and make more things happen, and that they can get away with more levers of control.
And you said that the record industry uses social engineering in rap to encourage criminal behavior.
You know, a lot of albums, a lot of dope songs people like are made by a group of people telling rappers what to say.
The label executives came to him and said, yo, brother, we need you talking about guns and whores. Right. That happens. I've been in those meetings. Young Buck on his album, he has a song on his album that talks about police terrorism. Jimmy Iovine said, absolutely not. You cannot put that record. So they took the record off, but they let him keep the other 14 songs on the album that talked about killing black youth.
The CIA funded rappers to talk about gangster rap and gangster lifestyle to influence the other people and make them more excited to be part of a culture that's dooming the black youth.
Yeah. When black people said, yo, we're tired of this system. You know what I mean? This system is oppressing us. So we rebelled against the system. We burned things. We said, yo, we had enough. He did his little report on what caused these riots. He said, what caused these riots? He said it was young children who started these riots, and what was motivating them was a high self-esteem and an enhanced racial pride. The black youth rebelled against the system. Why? What primed them? Positive hip-hop. You had these groups out here who were pushing, who were politically orienting black kids in the right direction, giving them the proper prompters that they needed so that they can respond properly to oppression. Hip-hop didn't start calling people niggas, but these black exploitation movies brought down the self-esteem and racial pride so that the kids will not rebel against this system of oppression. We were motivating children towards positive attitudes and lifestyles. And when Rodney King got the beating, heads responded properly. Fast forward to our day. Sean Bell is shot 50 times in the street in New York by police officers. #1 song on the radio, Like a Lollipop. Nobody do nothing. Nobody respond to nothing.
The whole culture is being dumbed down. The culture is being so fucking dumbed down and manipulated and controlled by people that don't look like us. So these motherfuckers don't look like me. They're not creators of this culture, but they want to control it.
Our kids are going to prison because they're promoting these records. They're promoting these records daily that send us to jail. You know what I mean? It's cool to go to jail.
I've never had a record company guy tell me shit about my music. You know, that's hip hop to me.
I chose the positive, so I didn't do it. But every youth is not going to take that route. I know, I come from the projects. We're not turning down $500,000 to say nigga. We're not going to do it because we won't turn down 200 to take a package of crack from one corner to the next.
Most of these kids are like high school dropouts, and they will tell you like the public education was not meant to inspire their community. It was meant to inspire them. Like, you know, they don't teach you about your culture, your people, your heroes. They're just indoctrinating you. They're just changing you. And hip hop was like, yo, claim back yourself. Who are you? Ungubane, you know what I mean? And if you listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of people are like, yo, I'm this and that, I'm from the Bronx, I'm this and that, I'm from New York, I'm this and that, I'm from LA, South Central, Compton, whatever the case may be. And I like the fact that, like, yo, you had, like, yo, when it came to South Africa, you know, your Java Man and the pros, they embraced that sense of identity, like, you know, the song Omang, you know. I think the whole album is Omang by, you know, the legendary WHP, you know, shout out WHP, RIP, Double H, you know. He has a song called Homage, you know. He has always embraced that Mafican thing. He has always embraced that, you know, I'm a Tswana. Even the pros, man, like the pros when he dropped, Soweto, I'm from the Southwest Township, like, you know, fuck, I can't believe I just mentioned 3 MCs who passed, man. Yo, RIP Jab, RIP Flaba, you know, RIP Pro, you know, Linda Mkiza, Kabazela, right? So, yeah, man, so basically hip-hop, it was a beautiful thing, and, you know, the government saw, like, yo, these people are gaining traction, and they're gaining their own independence, they're gaining who they are, so how can we best infiltrate them, you know? And it came in the right time when there was crack, you know, the crack cocaine was being introduced in America, so it was like, yo, the crack pandemic, let's give these niggas crack, let's give them guns, let's give them alcohol, and let's have our agents talk about how cool it is to do crack, how cool it is to smoke weed, how cool it is to drink alcohol, how cool it is to gang bang and, you know, do all of these things, you know what I mean? And because it has the right beat, the right hook, and then now you have, you know, guns, you have killers, you have everybody on your videos, you know what I mean? So basically, if the kids see that, they're going to idolize that, then basically they're going to become that, you know? So it was strategic, bro. You know, we had songs like Fight the Power, you know. Didn't have like, yo, my rims are bigger than your song, you know, beating in a pussy, or, you know what I mean? We didn't have like, you know, fucked up songs. So if you listen to like real hip hop, you listen to your KRS-One, you listen to the Poor Righteous Teachers, if you listen to, you know, Q-Tip and, you know, Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest, and you get to hear like the real consciousness and the real hip hop and the essence of, you know, what hip hop is, you know what I mean? When, like, you know, some of my best MCs, like Jeazy and Men, they talked about, you know, selling powder, you know, they talked about selling street, you know, pharmaceuticals, you know.
If you take people like Jeazy and fucking Pusha T, they made their living killing our people, so how the fuck they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? You know what I'm saying? So you have liars.
Man.
Liars are now the face of our culture.
Go and listen to I Used to Love It by Common, and you get to understand like where hip hop is from and where hip hop basically is. The real hip hop is not dead. It's in a niche, and, you know, what gets sold is After Effect, which is like totally wrong. You know, when you think about it, like the After Effect is totally wrong, and I think, like, you know, people really need to do their research and find out about the real hip hop, you know, which is love, peace, happiness, and safely having fun, you know. So like, if those are the elements that hold this movement, so basically it's saying that, yo, this is a movement with right intentions, you know what I mean? It's like, the hip hop that was created and the hip hop that is existing right now are two different things. You know, it's like the ANC that liberated the people and the ANC that is governing the people. You know, obviously the ANC didn't liberate the people only to enslave them more. You know what I mean? But then we are where we are right now. And if you look at the real ANC, if you look at the Freedom Charter and you look at everything, you realize like, oh, this is the ANC that I would definitely vote for, you know. But in execution, not so much. So it's the same thing as like the hip hop that we have now as opposed to the hip hop that we had before. Because the hip hop that we had before, it had good intentions, you know. It was like you're respecting your parents, respect your mom, your father, you know. Like also just, you know, loving yourself enough to be like, yo, I'm proud, I'm black, I'm loud, I'm, you know, whatever the case may be, but this is who I am and I'm embracing myself. You know what I mean? More than anything, it's about embracing myself. But then it got misconstrued and people started to understand it in their own context, like, yo, this is me. And then they started to say, like, yo, this is what I have. Like, yo, I'm rocking, you know, Giorgio Armani, whatever, Gucci, my rims are spinning, you know, I got the chains, the grills there. And then it lost its essence, you know what I mean? Like, yo, nah, we're not necessarily praising material objects because of material is just material. At the end of the day, we're just trying to embrace who we are. We're trying to embrace ourselves, you know. Like, directly, these people were there. From the Black Panthers, you know what I mean? Before they became the Bloods and the Crips, these people were Panthers. These people, they had this knowledge. They read these books. So save hip hop, real hip hop still exists. Make real hip hop great again. Listen to your Talib Kweli, listen to your Mos Def, listen to your QT, Black Thoughts, you know, the Roots. These people are still there, you know, your Scarface. I mean, there's people who are KRS, you know, and they're still spitting real hip hop, you know. So if you are listening to these new kids and they are spitting trash, it's because of the thing that they're spitting is trash. Yo, all these new kids, it's really hard to listen to these new kids. You know? I don't care, man. If I can't hear you, I'm not gonna bother myself listening because of why? It's torture, you know what I mean? I'd rather go back and listen to Mob Deep, you know. I'd rather go back and listen to the Book of Proverbs, you know, the infamous, you know, boom. It's crazy that the first thing that I'm gonna quote is a beat, but you know, boom, boom, you know, my niggas Mob Deep, face gonna survive, yeah. Tswayza, you just be doing it like whatever line you say, it just sounds impeccable, you know, just to say like, shut up, Tswayza, shut up, and you know, shout out to Tswayza, you know, even the Tswayza show in a minute, you know, and he came back and, you know, he had, you know, the Pale Machiavelli, you know, the Pale Machiavelli pulled up on the Tswayza show and I think he showed niggas why, you know, Pitori raps are fashionable. He went and showed why, you niggas need to come through to, you know, Perile Ashma, you know, what's going on, go Tauli Ramokopa, you know what I mean? Yo, if you are not from Pitori, after that freestyle, you'd wish you are from Pitori because of Pitori was on the map, you know. But it was not anything new that 25K spent on the Tswayza show, so he went in and he killed it. And if you know 25K story, then you'll know that, you know, he started tripping at a very young age, you know, tripping, you know, greenery. And, you know, he learned the game from his, you know, uncle, you know, he talked about it, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why you understand? So get under the Ziploc, he's been always interested about the Zaza, you know what I mean? Plug talk, garage. Like actually, like 25 years ago, there's like this nice bars, you know. So it was nice to listen to him speaking about his story, you know. Because if you're not peeped into that to hip hop like that, then you would not necessarily know who 25K is, you know. But you know, just listening to him and addressing like his situations, like Tswayza is a fresh of breath air, you know, like because you get to hear your favorite MC and you get to hear them on a different pocket. Like it's the same thing, but in a way it kind of forces like MCs to speak about who they are and what they're from and then what they represent. And I think that's been the theme of today's show, actually, you know, just, you know, MCs speaking about who they are and what they represent. And, you know, Pele Machiavelli, you know, he's always been like, yo, I'm the Pele Machiavelli, you know, like I'm from Pele, 25K, you know. So you know him, you at the same time, you know where he's from, you know, and you know his biggest inspiration. And it was nice to hear him speaking about his inspiration. It's like, yo, if being like a youth player and can't you know, found myself, you know, writing Dear Mama, him winning the summer, it's like one thing that I know is that I know that my mama proud, So if you know that your parent is proud of your craft, then there's nothing more that you're going to need, It's one of those things, like getting an accolade, it's refining because of, it's reassuring at the same time because of, that like, I'm getting this recognition from my peers, you know what I mean? As much as I'm doing this for the masses, I'm doing this for the people that are following me, but also the peers, my peers also feel like I'm doing this on a higher level, on an intellectual level, you know what I mean? I mean, like it gives you, that tap in the back, so I think, yeah, man, just listening to, and Tswayza, Hotman Tswayza, like even with the question, like everybody knows, like when I've been like pulling, you had Victoria on the back, pulling it like Toba on first stand, and then I was like, yeah, just so it's Muchini, Pounds, Tattoo, who do we have? And then here the sneak response, like my money on Pounds, get it? And also, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think that we should have also, just as scholars, just like who's leading like the Pitori wave, like who's pulling in the way. Because of honestly, right now from the top of my mind, I would say Pounds, like pounds for pounds, P for P. I think I feel like he's been doing the most work. It's been pushing the match. Punyete, I feel like Punyete's been moving faster or more than Loyal to the Plug. Maybe Loyal to the Plug was just exclusive, you know what I mean? But I think if there's one thing Punyete has been putting in the work, they had like pop-up stores, School Mall of Africa and all, if there's like Punyete Sundays, so like he's outside, I would say Pounds is outside more, and that's something I wish Tato would have, I wish Tato would be outside more, man. Shoot more music videos, be outside, be on the streets, go get more features, Super Mega's dead, go get RMCs to feature you on their project. All Dogs Go to Heaven, I also feel like that was an impeccable album, but then I feel like the way he's pushing it's not pushing it the way it's supposed to be pushing it, I understand maybe there's not a major behind him like a 25 would have, but also Punks does not have a major back in him because he did say that, they're trying to sign him so they can silence him. So I'm pretty sure he does not have a major backing him, but he's putting in the work, And also Mochini release album. Bo! Can I give a man video? Can't do it a lot. Magogo is a test like a little to flow tight, the glitchy, so no flow guy. Flopega, Joe, Mochini Joe release, I just cover, I do the necessary dealer steady. Come on! I get a spally. Pitori. The Jacaranda trees, man. It is the Jacaranda trees. So, yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing that I love about our entertainment industry, it is the films. But what I love more than the films, man, it is the awards. Oh man, if you know me, then you'll know that I'm super obsessed with awards, you know what I mean? I think my favorite short story of all times is An Oscar for Godfrey. I've never even read the short story. I'm just glad that there's an Oscar, included in the title, Think about it, even Oscar Pistorius was one of my favorite athletes of all times. Mainly because of the name, Oscar, An Oscar for Godfrey. So it is the Oscar season, ladies and gentlemen, and I think more than anything, what interests me the most about these Oscars, I don't think I would have talked about them if it was not for this gentleman right here, you know what I mean? The one category that I felt like, I wanted to speak about was the Best Actor category. I mean, it might stand out, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh my God. I don't know, man. Like, I've had the honor and the privilege to check out Leo's discography. I had the privilege of seeing Leonardo DiCaprio at his finest, and looking at this project, it's one of his finest performances. I mean, this guy has worked with everyone in Hollywood. He has worked with some of my favorite directors and other people's favorite directors. He has worked with Tarantino on 2 pictures. He has worked with Scorsese, I don't know, I think on 4 or 5 pictures. He has worked with Christopher Nolan. He has worked with Steven Spielberg. His discography is impeccable. Like if you check his performance on Inception, it's exceptional. If you check his performance on Django Unchained, it's out of this world. Ricky Dalton on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is amazing. The Revenant, the Oscar award winning The Revenant, and also I think on The Wolf on Wall Street is giving one of his finest performances. Whoa, Shutter Island. Yo, shut up. So Leonardo DiCaprio, without a doubt, is one of the best to ever do it on the mic. And not on the mic, I mean, it's on screen, And looking at his work on this particular project, I was like, oh my God. Leonardo, he's on his fine element, I don't necessarily like the movie that much. Like what I like about the movie is the character of Leonardo and what he was able to bring, and the physique, the comedy. He was so fluid. Like I think it's often not easy for characters to play like somebody who's just like who's not like a hero, or who's not like somebody like the guy from next door. It's like Daddy Grandpa, Daddy Grandpa, man. Robert De Niro, it's like what Robert De Niro did on Jackie Brown. Those characters, they're like impeccable because they are characters that have to be there, like they're just, they don't have much going on, and they have a lot going on by not having much. So it requires like a very skillful performer, a character actor who can be able to read beats, who's able to understand the character process and the thoughts, and to bring that across on our screens. I checked out this interview. He was with his co-star Del Toro, who's also giving like some of the best performances on the show. I think their chemistry, they have like the crazy chemistry, and he spoke like, the great thing about doing this piece with DiCaprio is that he's skilled, right? And he has the experience. So ultimately it means that he knows where to go. They can communicate during takes, in between takes, and while they're acting. So they're able to communicate, they're able to give each other space to perform, and they're able to, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. Oh, Sensei. DiCaprio like is acting. There's people are acting. Like, for the love of God, I don't know what is the code. I don't know what time it is. Hopefully Leonardo DiCaprio gets to be like best actor with this picture. And be like, this character is so amazing. It was beautiful to watch. To watch somebody who's like a douchebag, who's like, like the Big Lebowski. It gave me like the Big Lebowski, type of vibes. Just throwing himself into this character. There's paranoid, that is anxious, that is just in his robe the whole day. And if you haven't checked out the movie, go check out the movie and go check out like Leonardo DiCaprio's acting. I wish he comes back with the Golden Man with that one. That performance is the one for the books. DiCaprio, Black Diamond. I remember DiCaprio on Black Diamond. Homie is impeccable. So yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, shout out. It's been an amazing episode. You know what I mean? We're able to. I feel like we still have so much to unpack. You know what I mean? First and foremost, I think the whole situation, I think it caught my mind on the real essence of hip hop. If you know what real hip hop is, then you know that real hip hop is about uplifting communities. Real hip hop is about helping people out. Real hip hop is about having pride in your community, your people, and being the best version that you can possibly be. It's not about the guns, the drugs, the sex, the prostitutes, and all these things that corporate makes you believe. I'm a freestyle this top of my mind. I don't care if my music does not play on MTV. I'm not trying to be on BET. I'm trying to sign that BEE so that I can be me, independent. Come on. You know what I mean? So what you see on those platforms, basically it's not the real hip hop. It's not meant to inspire the community. It's meant to make them lead to be hyper-sexualized, to lead, you know, crazy lives. What I'm gonna say is that be true to who you are, follow the real essence of hip-hop. Don't forget, man, like, share, subscribe. Till the next one. 4 rings. I'm outie. Shoo. 4 rings. I'm outie. Get it? I'm outie.
God sent me to do this shit.
It's a Jeazy joint.
Jeazy on the pod. It's Jeazy on the pod. It's Jeazy on the pod. Giving you the latest drops, current affairs, latest trends. Go tell your friends. Jeazy is behind the mic. Tell this other cats to take a hike. On Spoon YouTube, you choose. If not, you lose.